of today's program, having this very critical discussion around urban development and continued access to features that lend themselves to our well-being, physically, mentally, and spiritually. A little bit about the Indian Health Center of Santa Clara Valley. We're located in San Jose. We serve a little over 23,000 patients annually, close to about 100,000 visits. And we were established over 56 years ago in response to something that was called the relocation era for American Indians, where American Indians were being forced and some enticed off of reservations into urban settings. And so, with that being said, the population of American Indians in urban communities, places like San Jose, Oakland, San Francisco, Sacramento, saw a huge increase in American Indian population. As far as our indigenous communities go, not only here in the United States, but throughout North and South America, from Chile to Alaska, culturally speaking, our culture is our relationship founding. And so when our relatives found themselves in urban settings, they also began to suffer mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, being disconnected from the land, their ancestral homeland. And so it was important for me to be able to be here today, Lucio, because we know as Indigenous people exactly what access to spaces that are healing for us, how important those things are for us. And so with that being said, I wanted to be able to share with you all a gesture that we utilize in our ceremonial ways. It's essentially a practice of presence and appreciation, gratitude, and we do this a lot. Some of our relatives are here from the San Jose area, and we're invited to different spaces to be able to do this. I invited my wife, Corina, Herrera-Loera, to be able to join us today. Her and I that we get to share this practice with people. And so we want to first start out by saying Tomati to the Muwekma Ohlone tribe of the San Francisco Bay Area, who today is organized representative of many of the different what have been labeled as Ohlone groups in the Bay Area as they work towards reclaiming their federal recognition. We get to do this ritual, the ceremony, in complete and total Ohlone. And I'm grateful that you all are having in their homeland today as we continue. With that being said, I'd love to be able to take a moment and you all, anybody who'd like to join us, you're welcome to take a. We're gonna facing towards the east, and it's like those that came before us. They said in this direction. It's where we get to see the coming of each and every new day. It's where the sun rises in the east and marks a new beginning, a new opportunity to start again. And we give thanks for the energy of the sun, that without that energy of the sun, we wouldn't be able to see all this beautiful plant life. We ourselves, even as human beings, are dependent upon the energy from the sun. We could not exist without it. Relatives, I'm going to ask you to turn towards the west. And it's in this western direction that our ancestors, they told us, we get to be mindful of the completion of cycles in our everyday life. We get to be grateful that we had another day to live, one less day to live, as we do our best to make a difference in this life each and every day. It's in this direction that we also think about that feminine essence that gives each and one of us life, that is creative, that is fierce. We're looking towards our future. You all can turn that way. To always remember those that came before you. The continuation for our generation ahead of us. They did the work so that we could be here today continue to work on behalf of the come. Turn the opposite direction, relatives. In this southern direction, they said to think about our children in our community. They said to think about our future generations, the reason it is why we do the work that we do each and every day. To also honor that child spirit that each and one of us carries inside. Relatives, y'all can turn back towards this area right here where we're at, this center right here. And it's in this center place right here that those that came before should remember the environment that we inhabit. They said, think about the air that we breathe, the sacrament of air that gives us life. We are dependent on every single breath in order to continue our life. It is this breath that is generated by all of these features in our community, these trees and these plants, that make it possible for us to have this breath of life. Relatives, y'all can stay right where you're at. Those that came before us, they said, take a moment always plant life comes from, where it is that the food that we nourish ourselves with. Every time we sit down to nourish ourselves, we're dependent on this earth that we walk upon. Have a moment to think about and appreciate the continued giving that she gives us. Because without her, we couldn't exist. And we get to continue to steward our relationship with her in a good way. Y'all can stay right where you're at. And then those that came before us, they said, we give you this gesture here. We give you this gesture to be able to remind you of how it is that we are all related. We're all related. And that we are dependent on all of these things in order for us to be right here, right now. Not only are we dependent on all these things, but we're dependent on one another. And they said, in order to do the work that you get to do in this life, they said, remember in this seventh direction, 4 directions, 5th direction, 6th direction, 7th direction, there's a time for us to make sure that we take care of ourselves, self-care along the way. And so this 7th direction, we think about that, how it is that we all relate to everything around us, the environment that we live in, especially this urban environment. Many of us live in these as they refer to them, concrete jungles, and why it is so important for us to always make space for life around us, that we can be present in the moment. That's what this gesture was right here, just an activity of presence. Just remembering how humble and fragile we are as human beings, as powerful as we and destructive as we can be. Literally, we have the ability to destroy this entire world by the way it is that we live in this world. And at the same time, we are completely and totally dependent upon this world to exist. And so we take a moment, this moment of presence, to understand that. Think about how it is that we exist. To think about how it is that we can exist in these urban settings, that we have balance. So thank you, relatives, for your time and participating in this wave of field. Thank you so much for including the Indian Health Center in Santa Clara Valley. Thank the relatives that are here today for participating, going along with us in this good way. And thank you, my lovely wife, for being here with me today to be able to share this ceremonial way with our community and remind you all that as Indigenous people of this land that we're still here. We're going to sing a brief song with all of that in mind. Just to think about, because these words we speak, they're not indigenous like we are. These languages, they have limitations around how it is we get to express that relationship. When we think about our future generations, when we think about these conversations about thousands of trees, hundreds of thousands of trees coming into urban settings, and how it is that they're going to find a home in a good way, that they're planted and stewarded in a good way. There's so much to think about as a bureaucracy that somehow, some way inhibit us from planting trees. That somehow, some way we can be mindful of the barriers and make things easier for our future generations. So we're gonna sing a song to honor the spirit of that thought. but we know it's a man. But we know.